I'm the Reverend Melanie Mullen. I am the downtown missioner at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Richmond, Virginia. And my ministry revolves around helping this church actualize one of its goals was to take its ministry outside of the walls of the church and into the streets. And they want to take it to the next level and be missional and engaged in all new, fresh ways.
Our project was about reaching out to our downtown neighbors, and we have a lot of new people moving in right where our church is for the first time. And so I think we want to get ourselves to tell our story better and to also live into our story more and to claim this new way of going out and invite new and returning Christians to worship in our church or under the umbrella of our church, wherever we may be.
The pairing of these congregations comes by the assignment of a faculty person to them. So there's a kind of a natural sense of you take two, you take two. But in the pairing, I think we found a kind of synergy happening. For example, the two I worked with. One is a very interesting church from Edmonton, United Church of Canada, and Edmonton is a very special kind of city and place, full of the arts, especially music. The other city was Chicago, and the Methodist temple in Chicago. And what they began to do is share their common concern for inside-outside. That is to say, what will happen in the proposals we made to our congregations, deepening them spiritually, awakening them to the next level of the role of the arts in worship and life, but also the outside. And it was very interesting for each of them to hear the differences in their cityscapes, in the spaces available to them.
Robertson Wesley is itself a congregation that is very ingrained in music and has a musical history to it. So integrating other art forms comes from not only our own personal interests, but also the interests of trying to reach out to people in a different way. The different approaches that could come from a play or from a poem or from a dance piece or from a painting and from the act of doing so, any of these things, sometimes can really broaden the experience for congregation members or for the people who are doing it themselves.
One plenary session that I really thought I would take a lot from was the Chicago Temple, because they are also in the heart of their city, and they are wanting to take something outside the doors of their church again. So there was a lot that we were able to take from that. But one that I wasn't expecting to get a lot from was the church from Edmonton. And they're talking about an artistic collective, and that, as a musician, that really inspired me. That's something that I'm going to be taking back with me, is looking for opportunities now to involve new arts, new artists in our worship and in our downtown mission.
We have a hallway outside of the chapel that maybe 1,000 people walk through a day. And it's dated, it's old, it looks like 1953 in a bad way. It hasn't changed since the chapel has been built. And I think if I were 19 or 20 walking through and it looked dated and old, I would think that what's happening in chapel is dated and old, even though it's not. And it just doesn't have a welcoming presence. The hallway doesn't seem to be invitational in any way. And it could be, and I wanted us to be intentional about that hallway. And so our goal was to ask a lot of different creative people how they could envision that use of space.
It's nice and refreshing to see other churches dealing with the same issues of what is it like to be in a space that's changed around you? What does it mean when you are passing through a thoroughfare? Even like the student chaplaincy at St. Olaf, when people are walking by, what does that mean when people change their walking pattern around you or their driving pattern? So it's nice to know that you're not alone and that you have a lot of commonalities, and we can share ideas and have a meeting of the minds around that.
I also had the privilege, of course, of working with the Dixwell Avenue congregation. Their hope is to chronicle and to record histories of the performances of Black sacred music, specifically in New Haven, Connecticut. They want to be the curators of that information because they are afraid that so much is being lost. I think there was a moment of epiphany where we were able to see that not only is it important to be a curator and collector and preserver of this tradition, but that in keeping with our theme, that you're also challenged to evangelize and to witness and to use these to spread the good news of Jesus Christ, and that it's important that as this music is preserved, it is also performed, and it is used and functions in the worship of the people and in the community.
This year we had the opportunity to go down to Dixwell and see what they do there on their own site, which was really cool because it's one thing to hear and to think about what a congregation's worship is like. But when you do it with them in their own building and you think about hearing their stories from them, it really makes a big difference. So here, going down to Dixwell as the project with all of the participants going down together and eating and then worshiping with the people of that congregation was really something special.